Part of the battle with digital painting is understanding how colors work. We can talk about color theory and which colors go with what, but the thing I want to talk about now is something more focused on being able to creatively enhance those colors in your painting. The goal for this tutorial is to train your eye, to be able to see the potential of having more colors in your work to make it look more expressive, unique, vibrant, and bold. I also want to talk about what brushes to use when painting certain things in order to properly show those colors and blend them together. All these things can be applied not only to a specific painting you're working on, but also in your development as an artist. Whether you already have a style or you're still figuring that out, being able to bravely add more colors brings a whole new look and mentality. This serves as a somewhat foundation, another technique in your arsenal. So with that in mind, let's get started. The first thing that I want to discuss for this tutorial is being able to identify the colors. When we're talking about identifying colors, this means you'll be able to identify where one color begins and ends in a scene. For example, in this reference we'll use today for this tutorial, we see the main colors: yellow, blue. The bigger areas our eyes immediately see. Then we have these smaller areas: white, brown. We can already see its potential by being able to identify these four colors as they tell us where to start. The yellow area is a warm color. If we take a look at the color wheel, we can see it right beside red and orange. This then can tell us we can add these colors to create texture and depth. The yellow is eye-catching. It's the first thing you'll notice when you look at this photograph, so we must take advantage of its space. The blue area contrasts the yellow. This is why it's the next thing that we see. The royal blue, to be exact, pops out of the background and adds a cooler tone to the piece. This is why we will try our best to keep that bright, by making this blue stand out and its shadows to somewhat just gradually blend in. The white area, like most white surfaces, show potential with bounce light and reflection. It is a blank canvas that we can either leave bare or explore in. As much as we can add to it, it is also, as I mentioned, reflective. So this allows us later on to consider it as a light source as well. And then there's this area. Now, here's where it gets a little tricky. Where is this in the color wheel? This is where the mastery of color theory and creative freedom applies. We can say that it's close to orange, but that will be too bright. And the photograph's background is already doing that for us. We can say it's close to the darker half of the color wheel. That's true, but not quite. So now, we take a look at the entire photograph, and we ask ourselves, how do we make this area more vibrant, but close that it wouldn't be too distracting? So, we look at the main colors we have identified: yellow and blue. What's dark enough to blend with blue, but will show great potential against a bright yellow background? Answer? It's violet, and it's right here in the color wheel. Now we see color theory working its thing here. As we place our colors, don't be afraid to blend them in together. These create new colors and new ideas for you to explore in as you build your palette. Try your best as well to create motion in your strokes, so that despite them blending together, the areas are still divided, which brings us to our next step: divide the colors. Dividing colors is understanding where our light sources are placed. We know for a fact, judging by our photograph, that our light source is right here. But then we have this white blouse, so we add that in. But what's special and what I love about this photo are these gems. They're creating so much more color and light for us to work with. Colors are often already there. You just really need to be able to tell where they are and emphasize it as much as you can. In order for that to happen, we divide the colors. When I do this, I use a thicker and wider size brush. We want to create bold strokes here. I often use a textured flat brush, like this one, for bigger shapes, and a circular textured brush for smaller details, like this. Huge, long lines, so the eye can easily see where the colors are supposed to be. also like to point out how beautiful all types of skin are. I'm not just talking about the color, but also the folds and all its traces and features. I tell my students often that when you start to appreciate these finer details, these unique aspects in everyone, we start to understand what beauty really is. I want to capture and emphasize that now through this painting as we divide the colors. This woman and her beautifully aged skin has all these light and shadows for us to paint. And we can't do that without these folds and them overlapping each other. So when you're adding more colors to your paintings, try your best to observe these things as well. It will not only add detail to your work, but it will also teach you how to appreciate the things society don't often do. I think it's our duty as artists to change that about the world. Now that the details are set, we can now move on to a bit more of an exploration. This is where you practice having that creative freedom I was talking about. This is when we start to include colors that weren't really there, but it seems like they just need to be. This part will be when we create new light sources. When we do this part, I'm not saying we should just add whatever color we feel like adding. Although that is good practice in order to discover new ones we've never tried before, we also need a little bit of control over this. For example, from the photograph, I can see that there's a lot of light touching this part of her face, but I don't want to use white or yellow here. I want something that'll go against that lighting, but also naturally blend in with the skin color. So I go for light blue. And that's what's great about using that color. Now we know that we can add more orange here because it will complement each other. If you actually look at the photograph closer, you can see that there's a bit of bounce light here. So we're just going to emphasize that now with a much brighter orange. Around here, we see that the gems colors are mixing all together, but I want to blend it with the purple. So I'll use a little bit of those colors and add them gradually so they just fade into the darker color. As we work on our blank canvas now, the white area, we get colors from everywhere, but always with reason. I added more blue here because I want it to come from this area. A bit of a reflection look. Here, I want to add some lime green and some orange and purple, which I got from the gems. I'm going to be adding pink here just because I want these warm and cool colors to somehow blend in together naturally and also distinctively. But I don't want to overdo it, so I'm going to add a little bit dark blue in it. Brushwork is an entirely different thing, which I will talk about some more soon on my cloud painting tutorial. Working on it, don't worry. But it's important to practice it because it's not only going to help us blend colors together, but it can also define your subject from your background. When we explore and add more colors, it is almost like we let the painting finish itself. As we clean up and finalize our painting, we start to see how different it looks from our reference photo. It's now more stylized. It has your personality and skill embedded into it because you allowed yourself to experiment. And I think that's the overall goal here for this tutorial. I want you to try. It doesn't always have to work out. It won't always look like the colors are supposed to be together. But the more you explore, the more you dare to go beyond what you see, the more you grow as a creative as well. What's great about this is finishing your work and looking at it wondering how that happened. I often get this because I didn't intend for it to look this way. I knew I wanted more colors, but it always comes out as a surprise. When you don't worry about what it's going to look like before you finish, you just begin, and it happens. So I hope this helps you out. I hope beyond learning how to add more colors to your paintings, more than anything, I hope it encouraged you to just try. You have an empty canvas after all. Just have fun. Thank you so much for watching this video. This is the first of an entire tutorial series I'm currently working on. I'm finishing up on how to paint food, how to paint neon portraits, that's almost done, backlit painting as well, and how to paint waves. Thank you again, and if you learned something from this video, then let me know by hitting that like button. It will really help this channel grow. If you want to learn anything else, or if you have any questions for me, feel free to comment down below. Or you could even message me on Instagram. I'm usually teaching there through my IG stories. If you love it so far, then I can't wait to share more with you. So hit that subscribe button. I'll really appreciate it. Now I gotta go finish that cloud painting tutorial I was talking about. I'll see you next time.